This segment is brought to you in part by the Canadian Historical Arms Society, owners of the Genesee Range, the premier recreational sport and training facility in Western Canada. See us online at historical-arms.com.
The Quiet Professional, a podcast about law enforcement, security, justice, and politics. We are digging deeper on the issues and going where the information takes us with access to experts and authorities. Welcome to The Quiet Professional. Hey everyone, welcome back to The Quiet Professional. Today we are going to be talking about human trafficking and exploitation, pattern recognition, and the lasting impacts from these experiences. For that, I have Jayden Posen on the show. She is a survivor and advocate whose life was shaped as young as 14 by repeated experiences of sexual violence, exploitation, and attempted trafficking. What she endured didn't happen in isolation. It followed patterns that were ignored, dismissed, and normalized. After years of being silenced, she chose to speak out publicly, exposing the reality of what many others quietly experience. And her voice is now driven by one goal: to make sure that the next generation doesn't have to go through the same thing. So, good on you for taking this on, Jayden. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And thank you to everyone who's listening. It means a lot.
I want to just say, maybe we'll start with this. Are you okay to tell people how old you are?
Yeah, I'm 22. I don't look 22 though. Yeah, I don't look 22, but yeah, I am 22.
I just want to point that out because, you're taking on a very big thing, right? Like, we're talking about trafficking. There's a lot that goes along with it. And you're doing this at a young age. So you're starting out early to kind of combat this stuff. So I just want to kind of commend that and kind of recognize that in you. So thank you for doing that. It's not easy. It's not an easy job, and it's a long way to go.
Oh, for sure. But I'm committed. I am committed. And unfortunately, because I experienced these things at a very young age, I have the knowledge on it. So yeah, it's unfortunate that I have to proceed this way at a very young age, but I want to protect other people.
Yeah, unfortunately, being a leader in certain spaces, requires certain challenges kind of be put on you, and you carry the weight of certain things that not by choice all the time, and you don't get to choose when you necessarily have to do it. But thank you for kind of leading in that. Let's start a little bit by talking about you and your experiences, wherever that is for you. Feel free to start us there, and we'll get into some of the other bigger topics.
Okay. So hi, my name is Jayden Posen. I am 22 years old. I have experienced sexual violence from a very young age, starting at 14. And for a long time, I carried those experiences quietly. Even before everything I went through, I was never someone who could stand by when something felt wrong or when people were bullied at school. And I didn't really even fit into the social hierarchies at school. So I think that I'm carrying that as well with me today. And looking back now, I see that the same instinct shaped everything I'm doing today. What began as standing up for others has evolved into what I'm doing today. And I'm using and trying to use my voice to speak about things that are often dismissed and help create change for people who feel unheard. And I know what that's like to be unheard and dismissed. So I'm trying to let other people know that they are not alone.
Yeah. So you mentioned at 14.
Yes.
This kind of started for you. You can go into as much or as little detail as you'd like, but can you tell us about what was going on in your life at that time and what had happened to you?
Yeah, sure. This used to be obviously very hard for me to talk about, but I have gotten a lot of therapy. So it is easier for me to talk about it now. But at 14, I was bullied severely at school by young boys. And I would come home covered in bruises all over my body, and to the point where my parents felt helpless. They reached out to the principal and authorities, and the principal told me something that I remember very strongly to this day. He said, "Boys will be boys." And
Mm.
that stuck with me, and that clicked something inside me. I was like, okay, there's clearly a problem, that this should not be excused. I was kicked to the ground constantly. I was shoved into lockers. I had a weight ball thrown at my head. And, nobody did anything. And the fact that people just watched this happen, that was the beginning of my realization that things can happen in plain sight and people will ignore it. I had an instance where these boys at the same school they were supposed to be my friends, and I keep in mind that this can happen to even people who are supposed to be your friends and that you trust. They they pushed me on a bed. I was held down by these four boys who were supposed to be my friend, and I think that they thought it was funny and humorous what they were doing, and they took their cream, shoved it into my mouth, and live streamed the whole thing. And I was only around 14 when this happened to me.
Is this at like a house party?
No, at like just a hangout. We used to call it chills.
Okay.
But yeah, this all happened while the parents were home too. And I immediately, thankfully, I got out of that situation and said, I need to go to the washroom. Like, please, like, I need to go to the washroom. So I got out of the room and I went to the washroom, and I was bawling on the phone with my mom. I'm like, Mom, you need to come pick me up right now. I'm in danger. And she raced over, and she even spoke to the boy's parents saying, "This is what your son did to my daughter." And the parents also themselves said, "Oh no, she's just overreacting. She's over exaggerating." But I'm telling you, I'm not. That's actually what happened to me. And that was one of the first many, many instances that I had that changed my life in the worst way possible. And I don't think people realize that the things that you do, the things that you say can damage people for life, really.
When this happened, you said it was live streamed.
Yeah.
Were you able to capture that or keep that or like use it as evidence at all, or was it kind of gone?
No, it was gone. I don't know who viewed it to this day, but I just saw that it was like a live stream and people were commenting on it, and they were saying things while recording me like, "She's so ugly," just a lot of very degrading things.
What kind of trajectory did that put you on from there?
From there, that kind of got my mind thinking like, okay, I saw the world differently after that moment. I mean, I was still young, so I didn't fully really get it 100%, but I I think something shifted in me, and I started increasingly sticking up for people at school when people would get bullied. I used my voice to stick up for people, and that in turn got me severely bullied because I stuck up for the people that were targeted. But I didn't care. I'm not one to let people silence my voice just because they like tell me to. If I see someone being hurt and someone being targeted, my instinct is to go and help that person. I don't know if it was because of what I experienced, something changed and clicked in me, but just I would, because I've the experiences that I've been through and people just watching, I think that I know that I would have loved someone to step in and help me. So I do the same for others.
How was your home life at this time? Obviously, you said your mom was involved, but any dynamics kind of going on at home, or is it actually pretty good there?
It was pretty good. I mean, I've always been very close with my family, and my mom and dad, God bless them, they've been there for me since the very beginning, and I don't know genuinely if I would be here today if I didn't have the support that I had from my family,
Mm.
because I didn't get support from other people around me. So my mom was there for me. My mom kept trying to as well, advocate for me and tell people what was going on, and nothing was getting done. So my mom pulled me out of the school, and I left, and it was just not a safe environment for me to be in. In schools, they always talk about bullying and stopping bullying, but I've experienced severe bullying and they never did anything about it.
Yeah.
It's a problem, and it's very, very bad.
Well, I think, I mean, this gets into some of the discussions I've had with others when they talk about, awareness campaigns and whatever else people have for events. But it's like, it's so easy to say nice things, but then to actually do something about it
Yeah.
is totally different. So yeah, the schools are a big part of that. It's this shirt color day, and it's wear this armband day, and it's this ribbon day. That's nice, but then when something actually happens, do they handle it? No.
No.
So
Right. Right. Like, you can wear a color shirt, but if someone's actually getting bullied, do something about it.
yeah. So okay, so you had severe bullying from a lot of your peers, physical stuff, mental, and then this thing gets live streamed. So what kind of with you, do you have a friend group that you're associated with at this time, like actual friends, or is it just kind of everyone you're around is generally not a good person?
I don't like to say everyone I'm around is not a good person. I don't like labeling people as like not good
Okay.
people. I
Yeah.
think other people might have been brought up differently, have different moral standards, which is
Mm.
fine. I always say that even though some people have treated me horribly, I still wish them well, because it's how you move on peacefully with things. But I used to be involved with the wrong crowd, and I moved on from that. I've grown as a person. I have one very, very, very good friend now. She's been there for me actually since I was 16, and she's my best friend. And that's one of my good friends. And I always say it doesn't matter how many friends that you have. If you can count on the number of your hand how many friends you have, you are true friends. You are lucky.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm grateful for her, because she's always been there for me, and especially with a lot of my experiences in nightlife too. She's been there with me and always been there for me. So yeah.
So a lot of this stuff that's happening when you're a teenager and still in school, is this affecting how you kind of see yourself, how you value yourself? I imagine this will lead into what we're looking at talking about, like some of the trafficking and
Yeah.
some of the exploitation pieces.
Yeah, well, for sure it did, but it did 100%. But I think I started really losing confidence and self esteem in myself when I was 16, and my virginity was taken non consensually by my ex boyfriend. And
Okay.
I think after that, I couldn't look at my body the same and myself the same after that. I developed severe PTSD. And unfortunately, um, when you, after those things happen, I've heard from a lot of other survivors too. They have a lot of other experiences after that. And I, yeah, that definitely lowered my self esteem for sure.
So when you talk about this experience at 16, this was like actual sexual assault. Is this something that was reported to police or no? You kept it to yourself?
I didn't report it to the police because at that time I was being still bullied as well at school. And I was worried that if I reported it to the police, that people would label me as like over dramatic
Okay.
because
Yeah.
I was also, boys will be boys. I had that said to me, and no one helped me before then. So that also affected me after when I experienced this situation.
Do you want to kind of walk us from the experience at 16 on to what you experienced when we get into like the nightlife and everything?
Yeah, sure. So that happened at 16. The experience, I don't think it hit me till later. I developed delayed onset PTSD,
Okay.
and I also developed panic disorder, like a lot of different things. But as I got older, I started going clubbing a lot with my best friend. And I noticed I got, unfortunately, a really bad addiction to clubbing and, you know, drinking and all of that because I found that it kind of was a band aid for my previous things that I've experienced. And I felt really good in the moment when I drank and did all of these things. But then after I noticed that there were a lot of very dangerous things happening around me. Even when I didn't drink and I went out with my friends, even just like for dinner, I was confronted a lot on King Street, downtown Toronto. And these environments look fun and entertaining and, harmless on the outside, but on the inside, they're so, so dangerous. And there are things going on that people don't realize and needs to be talked about. And I think the more people that talk about these things, the better. Because so many people have been affected by what's happening.
Well, what type of attention are you getting when you're out there and you start going out and experiencing, kind of more of a social life? Is it just guys being real crude and I don't know if they're assaulting you at that point, but like, are girls doing the same thing? What are you kind of seeing or
Yeah.
experiencing?
Yeah. So this is where my attempted trafficking instances comes in. I had multiple situations where people have tried to coerce me and pressure me into prostitution like situations in nightlife environments, saying I used to be friends with this one girl. And then this goes back into the groups that I used to be associated with that weren't the best. She used to try to encourage me to sell my body and do very sexual things for older men in the club for money. For example, I'll give a few examples of how this works. I walked into a bar and this older man came into the bar and he comes into the bar and he's handing out $100 bills to everyone at the front door and just like walking in. And the bouncers know him, the bar staff know him, everyone knows him. I was like, who is this guy? He's obviously clearly well known. The girls that work there were giving him hugs. Like everyone knew who he was. He was sitting in a booth with other younger men, and they were all calling him boss, like boss.
Okay.
I'm not really sure what they were doing or what his job was, but he kept trying to like say like come here to me and
Yeah.
my friend at the other table to try to go sit with him. And we just kind of kept ignoring him because it was a little weird. And then one of the bar staff, the bartender, she comes up to our table and she says, "You should go sit with him. He's really nice and he tips well. He's a really nice guy and he tips well. Trust me, he's not like one of those creepy guys. He's not like a scary guy. Don't worry about it." And I ask her, I go, "Wait, why are you coming up and saying this to us?" I ask her, "Did he ask you to come to our table to say this to us?" And she said, "Yes." And I always say the reason that I asked her this is because a lot of the times in trafficking situations, the guy will get the girl to go up to another girl to make them more comfortable to go with
Yeah.
the guy.
Yeah. Yeah. Girls are very much involved in this. And that I think gets lost
Yeah.
on a lot of people. They think I want to say it's like people, the general public, they think it's maybe something in a movie. Someone gets kidnapped and like thrown in a van and driven away. It's like, well, that does happen, but very infrequently. This is the more subtle piece of it. And I would say, but the more common piece.
Yeah.
So it might be more normalized and people don't
Yes.
realize it's going on around them. But obviously, as a police officer, for 6.5 years, I worked their gang unit. We walked into nightclubs and you could see just the interesting relationships in there. And you're like, that's probably going the wrong way.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. It's very concerning. And my friend at the time, she was like, oh, okay, I trust this girl, right? I'm going to go sit with this guy. I didn't want to leave my friend alone at the time. So I went and followed her. I sat at the edge of the booth, and this older man, he was in his 50s. He started like grabbing me, like roping me everywhere with just like, uh, I don't know who this guy obviously thinks he can do that, but I'm not a toy. I'm not something you can just touch. Like, my body's sacred, right? So he just started touching me, groping me everywhere in the most disgusting places. And everyone in the bar was just watching. It was really, really creepy, honestly. And I don't know why, but everyone that worked there was like watching the situation and kind of whispering to each other. And I was looking around, like asking for help, and no one came to help me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, what is this? What is going on? It's dystopian. What is going on? And before I know it, this guy has this really, really tough guy. He looked very buff. He comes up and he asks us, "Is everything okay?" And the guy that was groping me, he says, "Oh yeah, don't worry about it." He goes, "That's just my security guard." So this guy has a security guard too. Who is this guy?
So he wasn't asking necessarily to protect you. He was asking that guy if everything
Yeah.
was going okay. Like
Yep.
almost he would have to put you in your place or something.
Exactly. Yeah. And
Right. Yeah.
it was really weird. And this guy also invited us to this restaurant after. And I'm like, oh, I was just coming up with every excuse under the book. I was like, oh, I don't want to like spend money on Uber. You know what I mean? So then he's like, oh no, don't worry. I have a driver for you guys. And I'm like, absolutely not. I'm not going anywhere with you. But I also heard the bartender who came up to our table at the beginning of this whole interaction whisper to him, but it was loud enough for me to hear. She said, "Please bring them home after. Please don't do anything stupid. Just at least bring them home after." What do you mean? At least bring them home after? Was he not like, let's say I did go with this guy. Where would I have ended up? I don't think genuinely I would have been here to this day. And we always talk about these missing girls, these missing people. I'm feeling this has a lot to do with it. And I think that the more we ignore, the more normalized this becomes.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I guess one of the biggest things is always like, don't get in the car, right?
Yeah, no.
But one of the things you pointed out there, and I've seen this a bunch of times, where you'll see a group of friends, and maybe if one or two of them are okay with the situation, or at least going along with it. It looks like they're going along with it. But then the other people in the group are just going because their friend is going and they don't want to leave them behind. But now you're kind of getting either peer pressured into doing it, or you just get sucked into the whole situation that you never asked to be a part of in the first place. But yeah, it's such a weird culture, the nightlife culture. It's not good in most ways. I would say there's more negative than positive that comes out of it. I don't, there's so many other ways you can be social But after 10 o'clock at night till like 3 a.m., not a whole lot of good going on out
No,
there.
there's not. And I think a
So,
reason why is because there's not enough regulations and safety standards in place. I was talking with some politicians and they're like, it's really interesting you mentioned this because we haven't really been talking on this like ever. And
they said that, like, they haven't.
yeah, they said
Mm.
that. They're like, it's really interesting. We haven't really ever thought of that area, but we should. And I don't know why we haven't thought of that. So,
When I look at different business associations, the ones that try to promote some of the nightlife, promote downtown, like the core of the city, and they all they ever really talk about, now that I think of it, is really just the fun, happy side. They don't really talk about the security side and safety and educating people on that. It's just like, oh, come down here, party it up, drink, come, visit the restaurants. There's tons to do. It's super fun. But yeah, never do they ever talk about these issues. I don't know if I've ever even seen them at any of these kind of conversations or events. Is that something? And this is kind of jumping way ahead, but is that something that, like, have you ever seen? Have these groups or associations ever been at these events? Actually, been interested in caring for the people that show up in their areas?
actually, no, it's really interesting you mentioned that because
Hmm.
no, that's so odd. Wow. I've never even thought of that. They just kind of, some people just kind of promote it and don't end up actually going. But there are definitely, I mean, promoters that do promote and go and exploit the women. One that I
Yeah.
personally experienced as well. But yeah, I mean, in terms of what you described, no.
Okay. Well, that's maybe something for future work. I have to get these
Yeah,
groups involved in some of the conversations. So you were going out. I'll call it being a bar star, and you're going to the clubs, but you're with a friend that you said you go frequently. Is this friend, were they at the time? Were they looking to lead a different lifestyle? Are they involved in anything now, or are they helping you with what you're doing? Where do they fall in all this?
she's more she's more like she supports everything I'm doing, but she doesn't want to. She's a little, which is understandable. She's a little worried to speak out about it because
Okay.
these people and these places have a lot of power, money, and that's also another reason why people don't really want to come forward as well. But she's she just um she's experienced things as well, but she doesn't want to come forward, which is understandable, and I respect that. But she just supports me with everything that I'm doing, and I think another reason as to why I think some of these things happen a lot to me is because I don't look my age, and unfortunately, there are pedophiles in the world, and because I look a lot younger than I am, they like that, which is really
Yeah.
gross to think about,
Yeah.
but yeah.
But it's a reality. It's a reality that people need to
Yeah.
be aware of. This is out there. Do you so where you had these experiences, is I'm guessing this happens quite a bit. Like when you go to the bars,
Yeah. Happen a lot.
you have these interactions. Did you go to that bar again? Did you see this person again? Or did you come across different people doing the same thing?
Different people doing the same things. And they all kind of had the same traits in a way. They all kind of had like authority at the bar and clubs. Everyone knew who they were. They all had this sort of false confidence
Mhm.
where they act outgoing, but you can tell there's something actually fine that's not authentic. And yeah, I mean, I had another instance at a bar at a club. I'm not going to say the name just because I don't want to get, you know,
Yeah.
um, but the guy was actually, I was put in a headlock and no one did anything. And the guy was actually arrested on the premises after of the club, and the club shut down maybe a month later, and they reopened under a new name. So this is another thing that happens. The clubs shut down after something happens, and then they reopen under a new name to keep continuing this behavior. And it's very, very sketchy.
Yeah, well, we've seen that. I mean, with you have a shooting at your bar, change the name. If you have a stabbing, you have a major incident, someone dies out there from a fight, they'll come back and rebrand it, like almost just to get rid of all the memories of it or something.
Right.
But it's you bring up that part about the authority figures. So when we would go through some of these clubs and lounges, we would see frequent flyers, and some of them you start to learn about their background just through police work. We would know, this person isn't what they're really selling themselves out to be. And everyone, I remember there's multiple times where we would arrest somebody or remove them from the bar for whatever reason, and everybody be coming up, what are you doing? That person's so nice. They're the nicest person. It's like, well, yeah, I don't really care, and I don't have to explain it to you. But people really don't know what they don't know. You don't know what someone does in their off time, and the amount of I'll say individuals at these nightclubs that have a Monday to Friday 8 to 4 job, but then go out and do some real heinous stuff. Like, it's quite a few of them. And people don't realize.
Yeah, no, for sure. You never know, right? Someone can seem like the nicest person and whatever, but then all these things come out. It's disturbing, to say the least. But yeah.
So you have a series of events that happen to you. You're kind of getting all these experiences. How long of a period are we talking that this is kind of occurring? And I guess even on that, were you going into nightclubs before you were 18? Because I know a lot of people get in before they're 18. So it's like, are these happening to you even younger?
Yes. Yeah, actually, I was let in. They let in people a lot younger too, which is like, I always say, if they're like going against their guidelines and letting people in with like using like fake IDs and stuff, imagine what else they're letting in and letting happen, right?
Totally.
They're going against, and honestly, I'm not proud of it to this day that I did that, because I put myself in danger. But yes, I did go in when I was younger. I think maybe there like only a few times, like twice. But yeah, like some of these things did happen to me when I was underage as well, for sure. And the thing is, these nightclubs, like, they don't realize that these things are happening in your venue. Like, at the end of the day, that you're responsible for what's happening. It's in your venue. So that's also why they kind of just like close and then reopen under a new name. It's all very, very, honestly, it angers me, but it's also something that needs to be talked about, because they can't keep doing this.
Yeah, well, what we would see is a lot of places they'll switch ownership. So they'll just get their cousin or some nominee to put their name on the license, because the last owner is a giant dirtbag and can't now get a license. It's like, well, I just put my cousin on it. But they're never actually there to run the place. It's still the same guy who's there. He'll just call himself a manager or something. So there needs to be follow-up and further accountability. That's more on like the city side. So when they implement the bylaws and do inspections and so on, sometimes it feels very much like they're just like, hey, give me, the $200 for your license or whatever it costs for a license. And then it's like, perfect, I got my money, you got your license, and end of transaction. There's not a ton of follow-up on that. So, but if they just walk through half these nightclubs on any given night, they would go in and see like, those girls look pretty young.
Yeah.
And there's some weird thing going on in that booth. And the amount of escorts in bars, huge as a whole industry.
I know.
Drugs in the washroom. You could walk into like even just normal family restaurants, drug use in the washroom. It's pretty bad.
It's really bad, and it's scary. It's really bad. And yeah, like you said, if like police just walked in and saw, they'd be like, yeah, that person's underage. That person definitely looks underage. So yeah, for sure.
I was asking, what period of time is this? These experiences are you kind of doing this stuff?
Yeah.
Like, is it? So you're saying a little bit before 18, but up to what age? And then what kind of starts to get you to go, okay, I'm not doing this anymore, and then I need to start talking about things?
Yeah, so it happened from 17 years old to around, I'd say, 2021. So I stopped pretty recently, but the reason why I stopped was I something clicked in me, honestly, but also I I realized that I was slowly being um, exploited by this individual who was my friend and I trusted. And she would say and try to make me do things and make me go places with other men and do sexual things and frame it as like an opportunity. And then
Hmm.
tell me things after, like, don't call rape, don't go running to the police, don't tell your parents, only tell me. And that's a lot of how trafficking can start, manipulation, and that like manipulating you into doing things with other people.
How'd you come across this person? Like, what are they from school or just through work or what?
Yeah, I knew this person since I was a little baby.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, this is why I tell people that can happen to with anyone. So you got to be really careful.
Were they living that kind of lifestyle though? Were they so they were going to doing the things they're trying to get you to do?
Yeah, and she would get a lot of money for it.
Hmm.
A lot of money for it. But I mean, I'd see her after, like, covered in bruises and stuff, and scary. Yeah.
Was that one of the tactics used as like a draw to get into doing whatever she was doing? Like, she flashing a lot of cash around or wearing, nice clothes or whatever it might be?
Yeah, like, for sure, definitely the money part. But she was definitely saying, like, you'll be rich. You'll get so much money if you do this. Right now, you don't have a lot of money. She knew that I was financially, like, not really stable at the time as well. So she used that as a manipulation tactic as well, saying, like, you don't have a lot of money right now. Like, if you do this, then you're gonna get so much money. Like, who cares? So
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm just thinking, like, for her, did you ever have a conversation with her or question her on her lifestyle? And what kind of came of that? How'd that go?
So I said to her, why would you do this? This is so dangerous. Like, have you not seen documentaries? Like, have you not seen what happens to people? Like, you don't just go in a car with a random guy. You don't just go to random people's houses. You don't do these things. And I told her that I was also extremely worried about her. And I always would say to her that I'm not comfortable with certain things. And she would guilt trip me. And then I eventually, like, would go to these places, which I'm not happy about. But um, she told me when I brought up these concerns that my mindset is weird. I have a really
Hmm.
strange mindset, and that I look at the world and that everything's scary and I shouldn't. So she was framing it in a way that, like, made it like, again, I was overreacting, and that the fear and the thing that I was bringing to her attention, I was worried about, was just me, because of my past experiences, like, they weren't valid because of my past experiences, that I was just, like, getting scared because what I've
Yeah.
experienced. So yeah.
Interesting. So she's basically making you out to be the problem of sorts, or that you have the problem, but she doesn't. Even though she's showing up, like you said, with bruises,
Yeah.
she didn't think much of that. Or did you ever get a story of why she was showing up with bruises, and maybe it's not the lifestyle she should want?
She told me, I did ask her, and she said that she got into a fight with she had a boyfriend at the time, and her boyfriend was definitely involved in this, but she said that she got into a fight and sometimes she fights physically with her boyfriend. I don't know. That was one of the things she said, but I kind of stopped asking her about the other stuff. I kind of started to try to like separate myself with her. And the thing is, when you try to separate yourself from people like that, they get even more like, like attached and
clingy.
like, because they know, right? So she kept calling me. She would call me like over 12 times in one day. And I felt like I was being suffocated. Like I couldn't escape from this situation. And eventually what got me away from this person was I just blocked her on everything, and told her that I don't want to have anything to do with her anymore. So, yeah.
Okay. Did she ever tell you, like, even to this day, do you know like what she's doing now? Is she out of this stuff, or
I have no idea.
never come across her again?
I have no idea. I have no idea. There's so much that I don't even really know about what was actually happening. I just knew that there was something very off going on, and I was being, people were trying to coerce me into doing these things for money, and I was like, absolutely not. So I needed to find my way out of that. I don't know, and I do hope she's okay, genuinely, even after what she did to me. But I just I need to make sure I'm safe, right? So yeah.
Yeah. Well, you can't do a whole lot to help others if you aren't taking care of, especially by yourself. Like you got to make sure you're whole, because then you can work on other people. Well, we've mentioned like some of the tactics and different things going on. I just want to go back to the one you were talking about with this older guy, the 50-year-old guy, because I mean, there's tactics, and then all of a sudden there's just like very overt. Like he just, as soon as you sit down, it's like tactics out the window. I'm just being physical now.
Yeah.
Did you find that, for girls? I remember going to the bars back when I was 18, 19, 20, and I had some of my friends, like female friends, that would go, and remember them, they would come up and be like, yeah, some guy said this to me. And it'd just be some outrageous thing, or like some guy just came up and grabbed me. I remember thinking at that time, I'd be like, that's crazy. Like, not saying that they're not, that I didn't believe them. It's more, it's like, what guy thinks that's a good way to, I don't know, to just get attention or start a conversation or get something, right? It's just, it's I don't know, it's almost like insane, but I don't know if it just comes from like the way they're raised, or it's the liquid courage, or all of it.
I think it's media.
Media, yeah, how things are portrayed.
Mainstream media. Yeah, mainstream media is I think one of the big factors that is encouraging young men to act this way, which is very sad. And
It'd be pop culture. You look at like all the
yes,
music videos, movies, all that stuff.
yeah. Also the influencers, right? I think people call them influencers, but I don't think they're influencing anyone, quite frankly. I think they're just making things worse and
well, influencing for the wrong reasons.
exactly. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's a main thing as well. And like I'm not sure if you've seen the documentary Inside the Manosphere. That I actually watched it twice because the things that they show in that documentary are extremely similar things that I have experienced at clubs.
Yeah.
Being confronted on the street. Like these guys literally take like video cameras and come up to girls and ask them explicit questions. And I even posted a video on my Instagram of an interaction I had with someone like that. So it's just, yeah, I think that's it.
Well, people have to check out that documentary.
Yeah.
I saw it on Netflix, right? Yeah, I think it's on Netflix. So I'll have to check that out. So you're at least, you sound like a person who at least has your head about you. and you're kind of realizing like there's things in all these different scenarios, like little pieces that you can pick up along the way and go, this doesn't seem right. And then this over here isn't good. Now, seems like you are able to make some good choices in that sense. But you can't necessarily control what others are always doing to you.
Right.
So was it a lot of social pressure, peer pressure, all those things that brought you into that space, or were some of these your own decisions? Like when you're like, this happened to me at this bar, but I'm still going to go back here every weekend type thing.
It was a lot of the time social pressure, but also sometimes my decision. I didn't keep going to like one exact same bar that I got assaulted at. I did sometimes after to see if things might have changed, but of course they didn't. I think I'm a person, I always like to see the good in people. And I think that's very good, but there's also some problems that come with that. And
Yeah.
I think I thought maybe after all these things have happened, like the bars and places would change and not let these people back in. I was wrong. And
Putting
yeah,
some hope in some other people to do stuff, but yeah, they don't.
yeah, exactly. So I think that's it a lot too, but definitely like social pressure. I saw a lot of people that friends with and friends of friends, like, oh, there's a party at this place, come, we're having so much fun. And then I went and then something bad would happen to me. So yeah.
We've covered a lot here, from like bullying to the exploitation stuff. What are you working on now? Like or actually maybe I'll even start just a little before that. How did you get into what you're doing now?
Hmm.
So, because you're only 22. So,
Right. Yeah.
this is like quick transition, but how did you get into what you're doing now? And then what exactly is that? Who are you working with or speaking for?
Yeah. So I reached out to, I saw on the news that people were starting to speak out against nightclubs and experiences that they've had with people. And I saw this on the news and I was like, I had an experience with the same person. And finally, people are speaking on this. I'm going to be so honest. I've been to the police so many times with these things and nothing is done. Nothing is done. So seeing that it on the news, I was like, I can help. I can help by sharing what happened to me. Hopefully stop this and end this for good. So I reached out to an organization called End Violence Everywhere and I shared my experience with them and they've helped me for sure. And my experience and a lot of other people's experiences now are very similar in different ways, but they all connect and they all have to do with the same individuals. I met with a mother the other day. Her daughter was killed from human trafficking. And her daughter's not gotten justice to this day. And they're still fighting and trying to hopefully get justice for the daughter. And I was speaking with this mother and I asked her at the beginning, like, what did you notice at the beginning that happened before this all happened with your daughter? And the things that the mother said, the manipulation tactics, the coercion, everything she described was very similar to what I experienced. So it can start from here and then it can go up to here and you get trapped. So I've been connecting with a lot of survivors and people all the way to Niagara. And we're putting all of these things together and connecting the dots. I've also been speaking with a lot of policymakers. I met with a bunch of them at their office the other day. And I want to put something forward, a regulation forward where sex offenders and people with previous sex offenses should not or have specific regulations where they cannot be around or working around intoxicated individuals. And there should be regulations where they shouldn't be allowed or be in areas where people are drunk, vulnerable, and, in nightlife, because that is a hotspot for them.
Yeah.
And there are certain regulations around that with like daycares right now and children. So I think it should just be for also older people as well. So they express that they really want to add that into something now, like new bills possibly. But I am speaking with them, and they are helping me, and I'm working with them. And I'm also working with. I mean, I'm working with a lot like of other people. Like I don't know if you know Kate Alexander. She's been helping me,
Mm-hmm.
and I spoke at her event recently. But yeah, I also went and spoke at Toronto Prep the other day and shared with them possible programs and things that I put together to help raise awareness and help educate the developing mind on these dangers, as well as parents, staff. And I always say this one example. I had a discussion with my friend, and my friend said to me, in the airports in, for example, Florida, in the airport, it says if you see human trafficking, say something, do something, say something. But then my friend goes, what do I look out for? How do I know what I'm looking at is human trafficking? Because they don't tell us, they don't teach it. So they say
Yeah.
something, do something, but what am I looking for? And that's a gap, right? They're saying to do something for people, but they're not educating or letting people know what trafficking actually looks like. Trafficking only became legal in 2002. So there's still developing tactics and developing things happening.
On the human trafficking side, just from some of the recent conversations I've had on here, it's such a broad umbrella of
Yeah.
things too. There's labor, sex, but then even all the tactics come down to, like, we've talked about dating coaches now on here, which I never really like. I've seen it, but very here and there. Like, it's not. I don't know. It doesn't show up in my
It's
algorithm.
very relevant.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had an experience with one too, so it's very relevant. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, so unless I don't know, unless social media is feeding it to you, you might not even know it exists. So that, again, it goes to the education piece. So, well, that's why we do the podcast. You're doing the
Yeah.
events. Do you think you're right? You know what's one of the things that you speak on that people really aren't aware of, or that you maybe are surprised? Like, I thought people would be more aware of this within the trafficking and the tactics and everything. Like, is there something in particular that has kind of surprised you about it?
Yeah. Some people don't even know that they were possibly trafficked when I speak to them, or potentially
Mm.
attempted. And once I actually tell them about my experiences and what happened to me, and I have certifications in the Exodus Road, not in my city. And once I tell them about these things and what I've learned, they're like, that happened to me. And I think people don't realize how common it is. When I go and ask, I think one of the most shocking things for me is when I go ask around people what they think trafficking is, because upfront people can't really define it and what it is because it's not taught.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that people often use the example they see in movies and shows, like going into vans, being kidnapped, right? And I think that is probably the most shocking thing for me, because that does happen, but it doesn't happen as much as people think it does. It's usually manipulation, and then it goes up a ladder. And I mean, there's also like organ trafficking, labor trafficking. Like, there is so much different other trafficking tactics, and I think those are kind of just being brushed aside, and those need to be talked about just as much as what they show, in Hollywood movies, even though they're not accurate. But they need to make these things more accurate because it's a very important topic.
Well, I appreciate you coming on here today and educating us just like on some of your experiences, but then some of the things to look out for. Some of that is, I mean, things that, when I think back to when I was going to the bars or nightclubs, like, oh yeah, that's something that I would have seen back then. Like, it definitely happened, but I think people just don't think of it in that way. They just think, oh, this person's just an asshole, or there being no creep or whatever it is. And but where females come into the picture and they're used to kind of soften the image of certain things or make other females feel more comfortable. It can happen with friends that you've known for your whole life. And
Yeah.
that can be super impactful. And they're trying to get you into stuff. There's just so many ways that it can kind of come up in one's life. So I'm really thankful for the work that you're doing. Last thing we usually kind of end on is, where can people follow you and find your work? So what are the best platforms for that?
Yeah. So you can follow me on Instagram, Jayden Posen, Jayden, and Posen, Posen. And I'm posting a lot and continuing to do so. And yeah, they can follow me on there. And yeah, I just want to try to help and show people that they're not alone with what they've experienced.
Great. Well, we'll have to get an update in the future on where you're at with it, and wish you all the best, and hope to see the continued growth and keep speaking out on things. And yeah, we'll check in the future.
Right. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening in and following along with the discussions. Be sure to click the follow or subscribe button on your respective listening platform. Also, check out the Quiet Professional on X and Instagram under TQP780. And most importantly, please share where you can. Everyone has a part to play in getting these education and information pieces out there, so pass it along. Thanks again.